If you wish to be powerful, control your tongue. That wasn't advice, it was a warning. A warning to those who think that power lives in volume, in expression, in endless opinion. The truth? Power is quiet. It doesn't need to convince, it doesn't need to explain, it simply is. Look around. We live in a culture addicted to noise. Everyone's talking, everyone's performing, everyone's desperate to be seen, heard, acknowledged. But the Stoics, they saw through the performance. They understood that stillness could dominate chaos. That silence, when properly mastered, wasn't retreat. It was control. The calm before the strike. Marcus Aurelius, a man who ruled the Roman Empire, didn't waste breath on enemies. Epictetus, a former slave, used silence to elevate his mind beyond his masters. Seneca, targeted by emperors, disarmed his opposition by refusing to react. These men didn't talk their way to power. They withheld. And in that restraint, they conquered. Let's dive into 10 ways the Stoics crushed their enemies without saying a single word. Number 1. The power of the pause. Marcus Aurelius didn't blow up when he was betrayed, when his enemies planned, or when there was chaos. He didn't hit the table with his hands or call the Senate together in a rage. He didn't get his friends together to fight back or give a dramatic speech. He took a break. He pulled away and was quiet. Not the quiet of giving up, but the quiet of planning. When he turned to the pages of his meditations, it wasn't to vent but to face himself, to question his urges, to get back in touch with reason. That pause wasn't idle, it was planned. It was his defense, it was his sword. Because most guys fall in the first few seconds after being provoked. They feel proud, their anger gets the best of them, and when feelings take over, logic gets lost. The Stoics worked out to slow down that flood, to block the event from their response. Power lives in the space between. There is nothing empty in the pause. You can feel the knowledge in it. You can look over the area during this time. If you move too quickly, you might say or do things you'll later regret. This is how you can measure your risks. The pause is when you take back control. When you stop the automatic process that starts with being upset and ends with lashing out. They want you to act without thinking. They want you to be loud, passionate, and dependable. They want to rule you by making you do what they want. But if you really stop, you take away their power. You put them in a state of doubt. They have no idea what you'll do. They're not sure if their attack hit. And that quiet is a form of psychological warfare. It makes them sit alone in the stress they made. The Stoics had a deep understanding of this. The pause doesn't mean you're trying to avoid the issue. That means you're getting ready to face it with confidence, because the man who waits, watches, and picks his moment is untouchable when everyone else is in a hurry to speak, act, defend, or explain. Don't fight back the next time someone pushes you, insults you, or irritates you. Don't fight back. Don't say anything. Take a break. It's good to let the silence protect you. Let it make them angry. Let it ring out. And when you're ready to act, do it from a place of control, not stress. That's what makes a Stoic different from everyone else. The world changes. The Stoic replies at the right time, in his own words. And that's strong power. Number 2, words reveal, silence conceals. When you speak, a little bit of your ideas, fears, hopes, and weaknesses come out. Seneca had a deep understanding of this. He told them that speech shows what's inside, and if they didn't know better, they could use what they said to get inside your head. You think you're in charge of the word when you talk, argue, or brag. You give away a lot more than you think, though. Your voice, the words you use, and the way you stress things all say more than the words themselves. When you talk, a good opponent hears not what you mean to say, but what you actually said. They catch the shake of fear, the flicker of pride, and the slip of a plan that isn't being watched. They take apart things and put them back together again. Before you know it, they know how to move against you. But no sound? The best response is to stay quiet. You can't be read when you stay quiet. You don't give anything. You don't give anyone a hand to play against you. When your enemies look for a way to get an edge, they only find a gap, and that empty space scares them. They can't tell what a quiet man will do. They don't know what he's going to do next because he hasn't given them any clues about his plans or feelings. Being quiet makes things mysterious, and mysteries make people scared. He completely bears himself. He is the loudest person in the room and wants to explain himself, take over the talk, and show how smart he is. His ego, his fears, and his weak spots are all out in the open for everyone to see. The quiet man, on the other hand, makes other people nervous. They question their choices. They want to know what he's thinking, what he knows, and what he plans to do. Since they don't have a real goal, they start fighting ghosts that they made up. This is when silence can be used as a tool. That makes your enemies guess, which they can't win. Your silence makes them talk about their own fears, mistakes, and what they think will happen. And while they fall apart trying to figure out who you are, you stay steady. Not reachable. Not a threat. It's not passive to be quiet. It's an active kind of war. A planned retreat from the battleground of words where most people lose before they even know the fight has started. You don't have to be quiet. You can choose what to say. Only speak up when it helps your case, and don't say anything when silence does more. In a world where people are always expected to say what they think, feel, and believe, the man who holds his tongue has power. Don't talk unless it helps you. If not, keep quiet and use it as both a shield and a sword. Number 3, let the fool speak first. Those who are in a hurry to speak often lose in games like argument, strategy, and even war. The Stoics saw this as a natural law, something that could be predicted and was almost scientific. Epictetus, who had been a slave and a free man, a powerful man and a lowly slave, told his students straight out, let the fool speak first. Why? Because the first person to speak shows who they are. The plan he made, his worries, he had to be heard, seen, and in charge. This man is not driven by knowledge, it is by ego. He talks because he can't stand being quiet. He doesn't know how powerful it is to hold back yet. The Stoic, on the other hand, doesn't just put up with silence, they find it helpful, a tool. When a fool talks first, he acts. During his show, he also shows his cards. He makes things up, he tells lies, he talks too much, he brags, and the more he talks, the more he gives away. Not just facts, but also his personality. You find out what makes him feel, what makes him mad, what he wants to show, what he wants to hide. If you wait and don't talk over him, he'll tell you everything you need to know to win, and you won't even know it. That's why the Stoic pays attention, not to agree, not to wait his turn to talk. He listens carefully, like a hunter in the tall grass. He is looking at tone, reasoning, emotion, and inconsistency. He is gathering facts, not just the word, but also the person who is delivering it. The wise man knows that quiet can say more than words ever could. After that, nothing. The Stoic doesn't say anything else. He doesn't say anything. Not good, heavy, not comfortable. In the dark, he lets the room twist, because people have to fill the silence. And as they try to explain, defend, and impress, they make things worse. They start to lose hope. They show more. If the Stoic ever does speak, it will be too late because he has already won. Because what he says will cut deep. Checked. Surgery. One truth, told quietly, can destroy a whole speech made of noise. That's why knowledge can't stand up to noise. It sits there. It lets chaos go out on its own. Then it moves forward, not to yell, but to calm down. Let the fool talk first. He'll believe he's in charge of the dance. But what about the Stoic? The last step is already written by him. Number 4. Emotional control through silence. What really matters isn't the battleground outside, but the one going on in your head. In that place, fights are won and lost before they even start. The Stoics knew this better than anyone else. They knew that insults, attacks, making fun of, and being put down in public were not just random events. They were tools made to cut through your armor, to make you jump, to get you to act without thinking. You lose control as soon as you let your emotions surface. The enemy now has the most valuable thing you have, your mind. It was Marcus Aurelius who said, "You have power over your mind, not over outside events. Know this, and you will be strong." And your reaction to being provoked makes this point more clear than anywhere else. When someone insults you and you protect yourself right away, or when someone makes fun of you and you lash out, you are giving up your power, not using it. But no sound? Peace and quiet are strongholds. It's not weak to stay quiet after being insulted. It's a smart move. When you respond to anger with calm and frustration with a blank, cold stare, you send a message that is stronger than any words. You have nothing to do with how I feel. You keep your enemy from getting pleasure from seeing you shake. You keep them from having the power they want so badly. And in their denial, things start to fall apart. When someone tries to get you to do something, pay close attention. If you keep quiet, you'll see that they get more angry. They start to feel bad. They do it again. They start to reach out and say even crazier things because they want to get a response. They want to pull you into the mud, which makes them feel strong. But if you don't say anything, they'll feel bad about themselves. They let everyone see how weak they are. Being quiet doesn't mean you don't feel anything. It doesn't mean you can't feel pain or be hurt. It means you are so in control of yourself that you don't let other people tell you how to act. That you choose when and how to answer, if you answer at all. A real Stoic fighter fights with a shield that can't be seen. They try to hit him, but their blows just miss him. Their rage is reflected back at them by his silence, making them feel even more unsafe and showing how little control they have. Silence as a way to control your emotions is not just a defense, it's also a way to dominate. It's being strong when others would fall. It says, "I am untouchable," without saying a word. Number 5. The strategic disengagement. Cato the Younger knew how to fight without making a sound. In a world full of fights, outrages, and never-ending discussions, he did something much more powerful. He stopped arguing. Not when you give long talks, not when tempers are flying, just by refusing to take part. When arguments about right and wrong turned into lies and selfishness, Cato didn't stay to defend his honor. He didn't waste time trying to say what was right or clean up the mess with words. He got up, he left, in peace, quite, in every way, without giving a reason, without realizing the chaos he left behind. It was better not to shout when he wasn't there, because quiet and leaving together hurt like a dagger. People who are angry at you will never get what they want if you avoid talking to them. They want you to feel bad. They want you to be defensive. They want you to get down in the mud and wrestle with them so that your strength makes their smallness seem normal. You don't offer anything instead. You're gone. They are then left to swing at the air and yell into the void, showing what fools they are. Being able to strategically disengage means putting yourself ahead of the fight. Don't bring your sword to every fight. You shouldn't waste your energy on every enemy. Sometimes, the strongest thing you can do is to walk away from a fight, denying it even the honor of your presence. The damage this strategy does is much worse than winning a fight. Their enemies will start to think twice about what they did. Not sure why you didn't respond. Not sure if their fight was worth it. It makes them fight themselves by turning their anger inward. The Stoics knew that life is time. Paying attention is vital. Spending it on idiots will drain you. Getting involved with bad people will stain you. Not caring is not being a fool. That's the height of self-respect. It's the firm belief that you don't have to go to every argument you're asked to. You get back your peace, focus, and sense of self-worth when you leave quietly. You show everyone, including yourself, that your worth is fixed. A lot of people didn't like Cato. Political opponents, betrayals, and threats in public. But he knew that the strongest message wasn't always in what you said, even when you were trapped and outnumbered. It was in what you wouldn't say. There are times when your conscious, unshakable absence is the most powerful presence. Number 6, dominating through presence, not noise. Power doesn't want to be in the spotlight. It doesn't yell over the crowd or beg for attention like an artist who is desperate. It just is, solid, undeniable, and unmovable. Marcus Aurelius knew more than anyone else about this idea. His power didn't come from showmanship, like a loud voice or a long speech. Instead, it came from a quiet force that made men stand up straighter when he walked into a room. Marcus didn't need to be so loud. His strength came from the way he stood, how patient he was, and how still he was all the time. He often didn't even have to raise his voice to lead an army, a senate, or a group of angry people. The weight of his presence and the fact that his mind wouldn't change made him scary. The man who controls himself rules everyone else in a world full of noise. This is what silent control is all about. You leave your mark on a room before you even walk in. It says, I am in charge of myself, when you stand tall but not stiff, when your shoulders are back but not stiff, and when your chin is level and your eyes are steady. As a result, I am in charge of this moment. You don't move around. You don't have to smile. You don't rush to talk about unimportant things when there is silence. You keep the peace. People have to change to fit you. The Stoics knew that noise is often a sign of weakness that looks like power. People who aren't sure of their worth need to fill every empty spot with sounds and words that say they are valuable. But a man who has tamed his inner world and knows who he is doesn't need to be told that he's good. His approval comes from inside. Your calmness, your ability to hold back, and your willingness to watch instead of respond are all weapons. In a world that is hooked on distractions, stress, and drama, your calm presence is disturbing. People are interested in what you think. They want to know what you know. People are confused about why you're not running like everyone else. You are powerful because you have won the first and hardest battlefield, which is yourself. Don't forget that Marcus Aurelius didn't have time for silly displays of power. He didn't get into fights over small things or give orders to feel important. His strength came from being consistent, following rules, and having a deep respect for himself. His roar was his quiet. Bring that same force into your own life. Get better at walking into a room without saying anything. Show that you care by how you act, how you behave, and how patient you are. You don't have to look for impact once you know how to be silent yet present. You turn into it. Number 7, let results speak. It's easy with words. Anyone can stand on a stage and say what they're going to do, what they stand for, and how great they are. Anyone can write beautiful words and big ideas. But results, things are harder to get. You have to earn results. They have weight that can't be matched by any speech, proclamation, or show. The Stoics had a deep understanding of this. Meditations wasn't written by Marcus Aurelius to show how smart he was. He wrote it to remember himself to live a wise life. He wasn't proud of being a philosopher king. He led soldiers into cold battles, went through hard times with them, and slept in their camps. Other rulers were too busy living in luxury and enjoying themselves to live by their philosophy. Marcus, on the other hand, lived his philosophy quietly, action by action. Epictetus didn't scream about his honor, even though he was born a slave. He just put up with it. He was broken in body, but not in spirit. His self-control, bravery, and clarity showed that nothing outside of himself could own his soul. His talks weren't about bragging about how morally better he was. They were truths that had been lived out through years of hard work and determination. The Stoic way is to let your character, your work, and your heritage speak for you. It has almost supernatural power to not sell yourself in a noisy world. You stay strong while others fill the air with empty promises and empty rhetoric. You work hard, you bear it, you build. After everything is over, you'll be standing on the edge of real success, while other people are still stuck in the muck of their own words. When you let your achievements speak for themselves, no one can deny you. You've built up your strength, so you don't need to fight. You have already shown that you are smart. You don't need to say it. People can see that you're being punished, so you don't have to tell them. Now, the fact that you're still reading shows something about you. You're not just taking things in idly. You're taking in, thinking, and changing. That alone sets you apart from everyone else. Be the one whose work is heard over 1,000 others. Do things instead of just saying things to be a leader. Because noise goes away in the end. Legends live on. Number 8. Silence makes you unreadable. Knowledge is the most powerful thing you can have in any situation, like war, politics, business, or relationships. To get the upper hand, you need to know more about your opponent than they do. You need to know their goals, weaknesses, and motivations. And the Stoics went one step further. They were good at both what they knew and what they showed. The Stoics created a text that couldn't be read. No, not by lying, but by the strength of silence. They knew that silence is more than just not hearing anything. It also means not being exposed. By not saying as much, they hid their feelings, thoughts, and plans. In a world where everyone is trying to spread their message, the Stoics stood still, a stronghold of self-control that wouldn't move. This inability to be read became their defense. People can't guess what you'll do when you say little or don't show your cards. And your enemy can't control you if they can't guess what you'll do next. Think about it. In a discussion, the person who is most eager to say what they want is the one who the other person can use against them. They give too much information too soon, which is like putting their hand out. On the other hand, the Stoic is still a secret, a shadow that is there but not quite there. That's what makes them impossible to touch. Being able to keep people wondering is the most powerful thing you can do in silence. Imagine being the person in a talk who doesn't give in to their feelings right away and doesn't share their private thoughts all the time. The more you hide, the more people are interested in you. They will try to figure out what you are saying by watching every move, pause, and look you make. Because you are unpredictable, people can't trick you. People can't use your flaws against you if they can't figure you out. And the fear of not knowing is strong. It makes people feel bad, and the Stoics knew that this can cause them to make mistakes. Being quiet makes you mysterious. Putting up this mental wall between you and everyone else is hard. And you stay in charge in that mysterious place. Like in chess, while your opponent tries to guess your next move, You've already learned the art of playing from a place of calm certainty, telling your opponent your next move only when it matters. You win more the more you hold back. But don't think that being quiet means you're not interested. You can choose to do it. Controlling others in a way that throws them off balance is done on purpose. It makes them do something, make a choice, or say what they want to do, while you watch and wait for the right time to act. It wasn't just quiet around the Stoics. They were impossible to read, and because of that, they were impossible to touch. Being quiet wasn't a sign of weakness. It was the best defense they had and their main source of power. They changed the course of history without saying a word. Number 9. Silence creates space for power to grow. People live in a world that is always noisy, from the constant chatter on social media to the daily flood of emails to the never-ending arguments in every part of life. Silence can feel like a rare thing, but while the rest of the world is distracted by noise, the Stoics knew something very important. Silence is not just not hearing anything. It's a sense of space, a place where your strength can grow. The noise is a distraction. It pushes you in every direction, demands your attention, and fills your thoughts with things that don't matter or aren't deep. You can do a lot of things with it, but nothing important gets done. It gets in the way of growth and clarity. But no sound? Silence is a safe place, because it gives your thoughts a break and gives your ideas room to grow. You can concentrate in silence. This is the only place where you can really think without being interrupted by outside noise. Not only did the Stoics keep quiet to protect themselves from the world, they also used it to grow. The Stoics thought while other people were arguing, being distracted, or looking for short-term joys. While other people vented their anger for hours, the Stoics worked on improving their lives, their strategies, and their thoughts. Every moment of silence gave them a chance to think more deeply, improve their philosophy, or change their path. This is where real power grows. The noise, the rush, and the mad dash to keep up don't make power grow. It grows where there are gaps, when there is time to think quietly. In the quiet, you can take a step back, see the big picture, and carefully decide what to do next. This was clear to the Stoics. They knew that the most wise moments often happen in the breaks, when there is time to think between actions and reactions. Today, it seems like everyone is always arguing, talking over each other, and sharing every detail of their lives. Being able to take a step back and enjoy quiet is like having superpowers. The world can see that while other people are wasting their time on noise, you are quietly getting ready to take control. You are getting smarter, directing your energy, and setting yourself up for success. You can become the person you are meant to be when you learn to be quiet. In that quiet, you make room for real power to show itself. And the most powerful people aren't easily distracted. Instead, they take the time to think things through, focus, and plan their next move. It's not just a way to block out the world. Silence also grows strength. You are quietly making plans for your future, while everyone else is in a hurry. You are getting ready to get up. Number 10. Speak only when it's time to destroy. The Stoics did not just stand there and do nothing. That doesn't mean they were pacifists who avoided combat. These people were actually the best warriors, not because they spoke or acted quickly, but because they knew how powerful it was to hold back. They knew that being quiet did not mean they were weak. Instead, it was a weapon that had to be carefully used, timed perfectly, and able to give devastating force when needed. The Stoics didn't rush into battle with words when it was time to speak out against wrongdoing, support virtue, or stand firm in the face of hardship. They held out. They looked. They were very careful with their words. When they finally spoke, the words they used had the weight of 1,000 thoughts they hadn't said yet. This is what Stoic silence is all about. It's not about staying out of trouble. To act, you have to pick the right time, like when to say something so powerful that no one can ignore it. The Stoic silence stands out in a world where everyone is shouting for attention and where everyone's opinion is shared without any thought or effect. It makes people tense, interested, and ready to listen when you finally talk. Imagine how powerful it would be to only speak when your words will have the most effect, when they will be heard above the noise and hit their mark with full force. These were the exact ideas that the Stoics had. Whenever they finally spoke, it was during those rare breaks in silence that their words were most powerful. They didn't waste time talking about nothing. Instead, they built a presence through their silence that made what they said powerful. It's kind of like a well-timed attack in fight. If you swing your sword all the time, your opponent can figure out what you're going to do, block your hits, and wear you out. You can hit your enemy very hard, though, if you wait calmly and quietly until the right time when they aren't paying attention and aren't ready. To win a fight, you need to surprise your opponent. In a conversation, silence can be very powerful. The silence of the Stoic makes you want to know more. People are interested in what you're thinking and what you're going to do next. When you do speak, they pay close attention to every word. Every time you pause before you speak or do something, your words land exactly where you want them to. When you only speak when you need to, when the time is right, your words become rare gems that are strong, important, and hard to ignore. Right now, your words can hurt people because you used your silence to help you. That's what Stoic silence is all about. It builds tension, makes you feel present, and hits your enemy in a way they didn't see coming. You will know at that very moment that the words you choose and say will hit harder than anything you've ever said before. Being quiet does not mean you are not there. Being there is it, pure, unfiltered, and deadly. The man at the table doesn't need to say anything because everyone knows how important he is. It's the calm before the storm, the person behind the mask. Everyone knows where the sword is, so it never needs to be drawn. The Stoics didn't beat their opponents by arguing with them. They did it by not taking part in the game. They showed their flex the most with that speech. When everyone else wants you to say something, just be quiet, because being quiet doesn't mean giving up. That's the plan, and it's war when it's used right.